Welcome to Video Editing Systems, a podcast where we talk about any system that will make us faster editors, filmmakers, or content creators. Today, we're talking about shortcuts. My name is Devin Dennis. I'm a remote video editor living in Argentina, and the goal of this podcast is to bring techniques that will make you think and make you open your eyes to new techniques that might make you more efficient as an editor, filmmaker, or content creator. When I thought about starting this podcast, I listened to a lot of other podcasts that have a lot of information that you can learn a lot about editing, but I felt like there were specific techniques and specific systems that I learned throughout the years that I could help educate others. There's also things that I'm really curious about that a lot of my clients know a lot more about than me, and I would love to pick their brains. So today we're talking about the most important system to me that when I figured it out, I couldn't believe how much time I wasted not knowing about keyboard shortcuts. I spent about almost 10 years before learning really any shortcuts. I think I had a few, but at one point I watched a video by Sam Kolder where he talked about his personalized shortcuts, and it blew my mind. It took my editing to another level. Once you figure out these shortcuts, you watch other editors, and it almost hurts to watch other editors that don't use shortcuts. I have a new neighbor that's a YouTuber, and I watched him at Premiere, and I had to sit at his computer to show him a few things, and I was losing my mind not being able to use any shortcuts. A lot of these shortcuts I use in DaVinci and Premiere. I use the same shortcuts for both of them. I believe they can all be translated to Final Cut as well. But I also try to use these shortcuts in any other program that I use, any other software that I use. Not too long ago, I played with Adobe Audition for the first time, which wasn't a great experience. But the first thing I did as soon as I opened Audition was I figured out how to customize shortcuts and tried to bring all of the shortcuts that I have from Premiere into Adobe Audition. Most of them worked. One that drove me insane was the wheel on the mouse. They're all backwards from what Premiere is, which to me makes no sense if it's Adobe. But anyway, I think once you get the shortcuts, it makes a system that you can switch in between different programs, and it'll just make you more fluent across any program. If you've never played with any shortcuts in DaVinci or Premiere, I highly recommend you watch a tutorial to get a few shortcuts under your belt. I'm going to do my best to explain the ones that I use every day, but it would be good to have an understanding. This is more just to kind of get the wheels turning so that you can think about how you can personalize your shortcuts to make them work for you so you can be more efficient. I also modify my shortcuts, and I'm constantly looking for new ways to anything I can streamline and make faster, a new system. I always try to I stop what I'm doing and I add a shortcut. And then I usually, as soon as I have a new shortcut, I'll try it 3 or 4 times to start to get that muscle memory so that I know where it is. And I recommend that if you're going to use my shortcuts, I will put my shortcuts for both DaVinci and Premiere. I'll put a link to a Google Drive so you can download if you want to use my shortcuts. And I'll also put the links to that Sam Kolder video that changed my life and any other videos that might help. So let's get right into it. The most important shortcuts for me is with the left hand, you've got 1 and 2 and 3. Those are my first 3 shortcuts. 1 is to play backwards. 3 is to play forwards, and 2 is to stop and start again. So 1 normally is J, 3 is L, and 2 would be space. Now those are the shortcuts that come with Premiere and DaVinci. We'll get into the right hand, but I like to keep my left hand on the keyboard, my right hand on the mouse. And now if you're going back and forth between J and L, and you've got to move around on the keyboard, it doesn't make much sense. That's why I keep it over at 1, 2, 3. Those are the first 3, the most important. Those are those. Next, below 1, 2, 3, you've got Q, W, E. Now, Q and W, originally, I believe it's Q and W in both DaVinci and Premiere, are ripple deletes. Now, what a ripple delete is if you have a clip and you have a playhead over that clip, the playhead, if you split right there, and you delete the first part of that clip, and you move the remaining part to fill in the empty gap, that's a ripple delete. So you can do that all with a mouse, you can do that with the razor tool, but if you just hit Q, it will do that all automatically. W is the opposite, so it takes it again splits the clip, and removes the part in front of the clip, and it will bring the following clips back to where the playhead is. I hope that makes sense. Now I pushed W to E, so that way W just splits the clip, and I can keep both parts of that clip. Now that's QWE, and it's right below 1, 2, 3. So those 6 are the most basic. The next most important for me is moving clips up and down to a new track, or to the previous track. So Option A and Option Z for me are the shortcuts that I use to move a clip up and to move a clip down. Now the reason these are so important is because while I'm using my first 6, my 1, 2, 3, and my QWE, and I'm making selects and I'm picking the best part of each footage, a lot of times I want to push the best clips up, or I want to push the best clips down. Or the same with the music, if I'm pushing the music down. Now there's your 1, 2, 3, your QWE, and your Option A and Z. Those for me are the most important. I'm going to give you a few others that I have that I use every day, but I think those are the most important. So below QWE, I've got my next most important shortcuts. You've got A and D, which jumps between edits. So if you have 5 clips and you're in the middle of one clip, if you hit D, it'll jump to the next clip. If you hit A, it'll jump to the previous clip. Z and C will jump ahead 1 frame or jump back 1 frame. So you can move very minutely in between each frame, in between each clip. And Shift C and Shift Z moves 5 frames at a time. Now in between A and D, you've got S, and S will ripple delete the clip. So if you've got one clip highlighted and you hit S, that'll delete the clip and fill in the gap. Underneath S, you've got X, which highlights everything to the right of the playhead, and Shift X will highlight everything before the playhead. Option E is another important one that will change if the video and the audio is linked. So if I just want to delete the audio and not the video, I will hit Option E, that will unlink it, and I can delete just the audio. Or the other way around, if it's not linked and I want it to be linked so that I can move the two together, I can hit Option E and it will link it back together. Now, colors. I love labeling all the clips with colors, so I use Shift Option and different keys to change the colors of the clips. I've got them all memorized. Towards the top, I've got some blues. That's usually just my typical B-roll. The next line down, the ASD, those are more fun, the mango and the lime green colors. Those are for very specific types of B-roll. And then the bottom row, I've got CVB. They're all the talking head shots. They're all the interview shots. That's all reds and pinks. And X, of course, is brown. X is the doo-doo clip. That's the blooper. If there's something that isn't great, but maybe I could use it as a blooper or something like that, that gets brown. So those are the colors. Colors are awesome. Colors will make everything so much more organized. Now I have Shift 1, 2, 3 is moving around in between different panels inside DaVinci and Premiere. You've got your media pool or your project panel in Premiere, media pool in DaVinci. Shift 1, that's Shift 1. Shift 2 is your inspector, your effects control in Premiere. And Shift 3, what is Shift 3? The effects. Shift 3 is your effects if you need a cross dissolve, you need a warp stabilizer. That's Shift 3. And one more shortcut to throw in there, one more punk rock points, bonus extra points is Shift Enter. Shift Enter goes right to the deliver page, or it will export the video. And that Enter brings me to the right hand. Now one of the things, I believe this also came in the video that I watched by Sam Kolder, but moving your hand from the mouse to the keyboard is incredibly time consuming. I didn't realize until I got my fancy mouse. Once you start using it, you realize how crazy it is to bounce back and forth between the mouse and the keyboard. So if you don't have to put the right hand on the keyboard, it's way better to just leave it on the mouse. When you're thinking about buying a mouse, for me personally, I'm a rock climber, so I like to take care of my wrists. So when I looked into buying my mouse, I wanted to they have sideways mice, which if you sit and put your hands at a desk, at a table, your hands will naturally want to go sideways, like thumbs up, right? So they have vertical mouses so that your hand sits more naturally. So when I first bought my mouse, I first bought a vertical one. right? So that my hand can sit with my thumb facing up, not the way that a mouse normally sits with the palm of your hand facing down. And now that makes more sense for your wrist, but the problem is that I couldn't find a mouse with enough buttons. I wanted a gamer mouse with a lot of different buttons. Um, like I said, I'm a rock climber. I never thought I would be so excited for a gamer mouse. I don't know what the gamers use a lot of these buttons for, but now I can't live without my gamer mouse, without my Logitech Hero. It's a Logitech Hero G502X is my mouse. But you figure out a mouse that works for you, and a pad that works for you. I like the little palm for your wrist, the little pillow for your wrist, so that your wrist is a little bit elevated, because I think that also helps with your wrist, so that your palm of your hand isn't facing up. It's more your wrist is straight. And one other thing to think about apart from the mouse is where your elbow sits. So your desk, I built my desk, and when I first built it, I wanted my back to be straight upright. And so I built it really high, which works to get your shoulders up and so that you're not hunching over the desk. But I had a big kink in my elbow, and it just didn't feel right. So you want a 90-degree angle at your elbow. That is the most ergonomic. That's the best for your elbow if you're going to be sitting for hours at a day. That's the best. I think desks that can raise and lower are epic. I think that's awesome. If you can stand sometimes and sit sometimes, I think that's an awesome thing to have. Like I said, I built this desk, so that's not my case. So, one more thing to think about with the mouse, which I thought about, is you could do a Bluetooth mouse, you can do a wireless mouse, which kind of, I thought that I didn't want to have any kind of lag, but I think the gamers use wireless mouse and mice, and I'm sure that they don't have an issue with any kind of lag. But for me personally, I knew that I would never remember to plug it in and connect it. Like anything Bluetooth, I try to stay away from, because it's just one more thing that I have to charge. So I've got a cable on mine. So now diving into the most basic shortcuts for my mouse. My right thumb is on the side of the mouse, and it's got 3 buttons, one forward, one up, and one kind of back, two that are above the thumb. And so those are delete, enter, and minus. Those are the buttons that I think I most frequently would use on the keyboard with my right hand. So I've got forward is delete. So anytime I need to hit backspace and delete anything, that's forward, the forward button. You go up, that's enter. So shift enter again. That's how you export the video. I can just hit shift enter on the mouse. And minus, if I need to lower the music or anything, if I need to lower the volume, I can hit a minus there, and I don't have to take the hand off of the mouse. So with the index finger, you have your left mouse click, which is normal on any keyboard. And you've got, on my keyboard, I have 2 more buttons for that right index finger. One forward and one back, and that's J and L on my mouse. I have it programmed for J and L. You can use that to play forward and play backwards in DaVinci or in Premiere. I have it because I watch a lot of tutorials on YouTube, and that way I can jump around, skip around. J and L is a shortcut on YouTube to jump forward and back 10 seconds. So that's what I have that for. Then you've got your right mouse click like you have on any other mouse. I've got a wheel in the middle, and I have a button that'll change it from a clicky scroll to a smooth scroll. I usually leave it in a smooth scroll. Sometimes I'll use the click scroll. The mouse will, the wheel in between the 2 buttons will also, you can push to the right and push to the left, and I have that set up to switch between windows. I'm on Mac, and I can switch between desktops using those buttons. You've also got a center button, which works for DaVinci. That's the most tricky button for me. I mess it up all the time. But when you're color grading, you can copy and paste color grades using that middle button. I don't know if I use it for anything really in Premiere, but you've got a middle button there, and I've got one more button, and that will change the DPI, which is how fast the mouse moves on your screen. So I like to move it around. I have it moves around fast, so that way I can just zip around the screen. But when I'm playing with the color grade or anything really minute, I like to have the mouse, I move my hand a lot and the mouse moves just a little bit. So it switches between 2 different DPIs. I believe you can change it to a bunch of different DPIs in the Logitech software. I don't know what that's used for in video games, but it's an awesome thing to have. So that's all I have for this episode. I hope that helps. I hope that set off some light so that maybe you can figure out your own shortcuts. I hope maybe you learned some shortcuts that already come with Premiere and DaVinci, something to make you edit faster today. I hope it made sense. Again, you can watch tutorials. I've got a reel that covers the first, actually both the right hand and the left hand. I've got one that does the first 6. Again, the most important 6 are 1, 2, 3. That plays backwards. 2 pauses and plays. 3 plays forwards. And your QWE, which Q ripple deletes to the left, WE ripple deletes to the right, and W just splits the clip in the middle. Those are my most important 3 to the left. And the right mouse button, again, probably the most important, is the 3 thumb buttons. You've got your backspace, enter, and your minus. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. So not all the podcasts are going to be this nerdy, but honestly, these are the most, for me as a video editor, these are the most important things, the most basic things that will, for me, change my life when I figured them out using DaVinci and using Premiere. Next episode is either going to be another nerdy one, maybe about file structures, or it's going to be with my first client that I ever got as a freelancer, Brian T. Licata. I now consider Brian a very good friend. We both laugh about how lucky we were to find each other because he was struggling with freelancers on Fiverr and Upwork, and I was struggling trying to kind of make a name for myself on Fiverr and Upwork, which is very hard, and I don't touch either of those anymore. But I did a lot of corporate work, a lot of podcasts for him, and he also, the two of us had very different opinions about AI. He loved it at first, and I hated it at first. We almost flip-flopped. He gets it now that some things are better done manually, and I get it that AI can be a very useful tool. So, either one of those, next episode, I will catch you on the next one.